Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of RimWorld Survival, the scenario that won by popular vote. If you're curious about the voting results or the schedule of this series, hop on Rhadamant.com. So we start off with three exiles here, and the intro text reads, "The three of you had disobeyed the elders of your past society. They've exiled you as punishment, but wanting to prolong your suffering, they also exiled you with resources as a false hope of survival. Prove them wrong." Alright, before we land, let's take a look around. We do not seem to have a cave system all that close to us. That will be somewhat penalizing. If I was to pick, I would maybe settle in this area here. Let's check the structure limits. Yeah, we could settle out here. The reason picking this area, there's a whole lot of scattered steel there, and there's this whole mountain system here to take advantage of. But it's pretty far from our landing spot, so that poses another challenge. So before I do anything, let's introduce the characters. We've got Aggro here, Aggro Beeper. He's tough, a quick sleeper, an optimist, who shoots, mines, and crafts. Let's give him the bolt-action rifle. We've got James here, who's a constructor, miner, and artist, jogger, quick sleeper, volatile. Let's give him the revolver. And then we have Stormhand, Stormy, Horamheb, Sanguine, Industrious, Night Owl, Medical, Plants, and Melee. Gets the knife. Alright. Now the next, let's actually go ahead and allow all. Unforbid everything. And the first thing I want to do is to stockpile in this cave. It is pretty cold out. So what I'm going to do is have Aggro, you haul the wood, Stormy, you haul some food, and Janes, you haul components. Now this is a somewhat, I wouldn't even say somewhat, a pretty heavily modified RimWorld, so it's not going to play like you expect it to. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say I created a mod for this, and it should be penalizing but fun. Alright, so we have gotten to the cave here that I want to settle. So the first thing I'm going to do is to change everyone's work priorities to definitely mine and construct. I don't want anyone going back outside. There is a nuclear fallout outside that really can't be healthy. Aggro, Janes, actually Aggro already has some radiation buildup, just to demonstrate how immediately damaging this nuclear fallout is. It is no joke. Spending an hour outside makes you quite sick. Alright, given the temperature of this cave, my first goals is to wall it off so that it is heatable. There's no point in creating heat if we're just going to vent it out to the atmosphere here. So I'm going to put a steel door here. I'm actually going to spend a little bit more resource to wall off along the roof line. And the reason for that is if someone is trying to raid my base, I want nuclear fallout raining on their head and them not to have some sort of overhang that protects them. Forget protection of my enemies. We're already botching some construction projects. But, alright, Stormy here. Let's go ahead and paint a zone. Call this Area 1. And I'm going to paint it very crudely, but I'm going to paint it to only really include the cave here. We don't want them venturing too far, so let's go and restrict. Now, we have to limit the amount of time we spend outside to reduce our radiation buildup. The buildup here is about 9.3%, so it would be very wise to pick and choose when we go outside for sure. Now the next thing I want to do is to try not to use the wood power that much. So I'm going to make an initial campfire out of wood, and then definitely aim to never have to refuel that thing again. Now fortunately, due to the constant nuclear fallout, there is almost no chance that wind turbines are going to be interrupted by trees or plants. There really aren't any. So I'm going to set up a wind turbine here. Or actually, you know what? I think our wind turbine is far less likely to be tampered with if it's back here. I'm curious. Yeah, there is indeed enough space to sneak one in there. Yeah, we'll do just that. So that means already destroying the wall that we had built, replacing it with some steel door. Now, one artificially imposed rule I'm going to make for myself is I'm going to treat anything that doesn't have a naturally occurring roof as irradiated, which means I'm not going to just create roof zones all around the map in order to, you know, create safe zones. I'm only going to cave hop. That is a restriction of this playthrough. So if you're curious why I'm doing sort of some task the way I'm doing it, it's because I am artificially, you know, creating a restriction for myself. Now, the little fire that we have here is really not warming us up much, so I'm going to create a temporary heat hut zone here out of steel. It seems like steel will have a lot of. I don't want to freeze to death, so I'm definitely going to create a teeny little zone that we are able to heat safely and efficiently. And then next, I'm going to unrestrict Janes, the castaway. And these guys are warming up, and he is going to work on this turbine. Trying to limit the amount of time he spends outside. I'll probably actually have him come back into the mining area and lose his hypothermia. Once Stormy here has lost hypothermia, Stormy, you are going to be unrestricted and forced to haul... oh, I see. We didn't even pick up the weapons. That's problematic. You'll be... You have no path? Oh, right, because of the forbidden door. That would be true. Stormy, you are going to grab the knife and haul the meals. Now the problem is we got here on a single trip, not a round trip. So there is the issue of round trips being potentially dangerous. We haven't really measured how much exposure we get from a round trip. So here's a good measurement. It is going up pretty quick. Definitely a dangerous amount of radiation. And this is something that we'll have to constantly manage. Okay, so we have definitely gotten back inside. The first thing I want to do is to start heating this cave, because it is cold out. Okay, so we got about 16% radiation making that run. Let's do another restriction here and prevent future running. And the radiation goes away slowly, it seems, but surely. Now, the first big barrier to long-term survival, almost certainly, will be food, right? Because we don't really have a secure source of it. Now, there's a bad temperature penalty here. What I could do to fix that is to close this door. And we'll continue mining. Now, with each additional tile... Oh, Janes, you are... zone restricted. How are you even going out there? Yeah, the cave is warming up enough that we'll be able to remove these inner walls. Now, the issue will be wind power isn't all that reliable. So at the moment, it's generating power, but it won't always. So a reliable, constant source of power would be quite nice to obtain. And seeing that people are starting to sleep, let's go ahead and create some actual beds. Unfortunately out of steel, but there's really not much of an alternative, a good alternative here. Two good beds and a normal one. Okay, so 2 heaters is keeping the cave fairly temperate. Not perfect. Now, just because we are desperate and in a really terrible situation does not mean we can neglect our need for things like recreation. So that is another very important thing to manage. Okay, so Jane still has build up. You've got initial. Aggro here is going to make a run for... let's see. We're going to have you drop your bolt-action rifle. And equip the revolver and haul the wood. Might as well get 2 things. Now, of course, I could use the caravanning method, but that is going to be forbidden, as it is sort of cheating. Or at least I've been told that. Alright, so for furniture, we'll go economy furniture here. We'll have a stool that doubles as a research chair and a table, so we don't have to eat on the floor. How is Aggro doing? Aggro, you have radiation and you're shivering. Looking good. And the radiation of everyone else is decreasing. Alright, so there is the revolver that I failed to pick up. Getting the research bench going. And let's immediately have Aggro focus on research, despite him being our... you know, actually, let's see. No, I take that back. Stormy, you are going to be our researcher. And then on top of that, let's change some restrictions here. So Stormy, you are a night owl. So this means that you want to be asleep between 11 and 18. All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Changing your sleep schedule around a little. Seems fair. And let's change your mining priorities. You're the worst miner, so we'll definitely get you to research. The first thing I want to research will be hydroponics. Don't think this scenario is all that survivable without it. There is, however, some stony soil here. So what I'm going to do is, let's go in zone some potatoes. And we do happen to have Stormy as a grower and plant cutter. Now the issue with this will be our absolute lack of power in order to get the grow light going. The sun lamp. But that is a problem for probably Jane's and adding solar or adding additional wind to our grid. Now, of course, because this... Ooh, that actually is... Yeah, we'll build it there. All right, Mr. Janes. You're going to be unrestricted. Your buildup has decreased. And I think whenever anyone's radiation lowers, we'll have them go outside and work on as many of the outside projects as possible. All right. So let's go ahead and, although it's ugly, drag power around the edge of the cave here. Eventually, maybe we'll fix this to have power built into walls and things. We'll have to make this homier as time goes on. Plugging in the lamp here. Aggro, you are going to be area restricted. Janes, same with you. Who's a major break risk? Janes is. You're sick, in minor pain, in darkness. Dull barracks. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for you to be pissed. I get that. Do some recreation. So we need 2,900 watts. And this is not outputting nearly enough. Another project to be undertaken when we're able. Batteries would also be very handy, but I think hydroponics is probably the chief concern, at least initially. Because the other ways to generate power, solar would be great, truth be told. But I think we really need a steady source of food, as we are going to be running out of things to eat pretty soon here. Now, of course, we haven't really explored this cave very much. We could dig pretty deep into it. Or not cave, but the mountain, I should say. We're living like Iron Man now, aren't we? Okay, it's off for growing period. Checking the health of everyone. Doesn't look like anyone's fit to make a run for goods yet. Everyone is still pretty irradiated. Now, so far, I haven't mined out any of the marble, so we're not generating any filth. And I might end up attempting not to have any natural or non-natural floor tiles to limit the amount of filth that this base generates. I'm also curious if we'll be able to heat the base with only 2 heaters, seeing that we are about to lose a sun lamp. Or a fireplace. I can start to double insulate, though. That would not be against the rules in any way, as long as we double insulate inwards rather than outwards. Obviously, there's very low wind right now. Very gentle fallout. And despite the fact that it's the middle of the winter, or the summer rather, it is really cold out. But that's because it's somewhat of a nuclear winter, isn't it? It's the way it is. Alright, so I'm double insulating everything that can use it. Looks like we are losing our radiation buildup. Jane's here. I'm going to unrestrict and get working on that turbine again. Yet another. Once we have batteries, this will be very helpful and fixed, I think. Alright, the grow light is on for the first time ever. Back to the restricted zone. Checking his health. Yep, built a bunch of radiation while out there. Stormy, it is your turn to haul some food. So I'm creating double walls anywhere where we're mining out steel, removing the single wall. Just for aesthetics, I'll fill one in here too. Looks like the 2 heaters for right now are enough to keep us warm. But that might change. Now we do have a grow zone here that we can make heal root, maybe, if someone is skilled enough to do it. No. All right. What about psychoid? Yes. All right. These guys are now idle. Now, any additional removal of stone around here will result in rough tile, or hewn marble, I should say, which can cause filth, so we're going to have to fill it in and not have it be home zone. So let's go ahead and repaint the home zone to accurately depict where we care about and where we do not. And I'm going to have it turn off for automatic home zone expansion. So I really don't feel like cleaning up dingy caves or anything like that. That will be an important thing to modify. And all right, looking good. So if we're starting a mine like this, we got to drop a steel door to separate it out so it's not filthy. Additionally, we could go ahead and set up a sculptor table out of steel. We have plenty of steel. That is a material that we have an abundance of. And maybe I won't have it share. What I'll do is I'll put it somewhere in the light. Sculptor table and stone cutter with a stool in between. Now, if we want this to be homey, art is going to count for a lot. I am constantly miner breaking. One thing I could do to prevent some additional miner breaking is some chests. That wouldn't be terrible. 15, 17, 7.5. So through this door, we've reached some steel. Aggro is not allowed to go out there because of the restrictions here, the Area 1 restrictions. So let's change them a little bit. So we can keep getting steel. And let's take a look. Electric stove would not be terrible to make, although it's probably not going to be powered on very much. NPM, almost definitely, to be able to conserve food. We're going to want some sort of refrigeration, although likely mostly a vegetarian or vegan diet, not by choice, but simply by the fact that there's really not going to be any meat source here. Meat is something that's going to be very hard to come by. Maybe we can get into animal husbandry. I don't know. I truly do not. But we have a lot of minor breaks. Aggro is almost ready to go for another hauling run. That's really the only disadvantage of living as far as I am from everyone else. I'm gonna spread out the beds here a little bit so that we have fewer disturbed sleeps. It might not work perfectly, but it should be okay. For now, until I have proper bedrooms. So the radiation buildup hurts breathing, blood filtration, which then hurts pretty much everything else. Also puts them in a little bit of pain. As it builds up, it gets obviously far worse. It is I can tell you right now, without spoiling too much, a severe problem to allow it to snowball. Don't do that if you can help it. All right, so we are at minimum wind here. Again, we might want to think about an additional wind project. As you can see, we are definitely running out of real estate. If we put one inversely pointing back, it would prevent this one here, and we'd also have to mine out some tiles. So a wind turbine like this might be most ideal for next project. And we can fill it in with solar once we have solar researched. I'm going to wait for Aggro's radiation buildup to drop to a minimum. Or a little bit lower, at least, than it currently is. As you can see, I am carefully mining out this area here to prevent both cave-in and opening it up to the outside. Eventually I'll have to, but for now I can avoid that. Okay, you are just about ready for another unrestricted run to get food. Food, in my opinion, is more urgent than medicine, although the medicine would be great. Don't get me wrong, we're gonna probably starve first. Okay, so here we go. We get to name some things. So my faction will be called RimWorld Exiles, and this town will be called The Vault. A nice homage there, I think. Man, the growth rate of these potatoes is dismal. How is your hydroponics coming? Because we are relying upon it heavily. Aggro is shivering and cold and irradiated. But the inside of this cave is actually looking pretty decent. Alright, so you are... Instead of doing that, if you're already out here... Work on the wind turbine. If you're already gonna irradiate yourself, you know? Area 1. We're going to ignore roof here. Alright, Janes, how's your radiation buildup? You're okay? Back to Area 1 then. No, stay inside. Okay. Aggro, you already made a run. You get a little bit of R&R. But guys, that is all the time I have for the very first episode. So let me know what you think. Let me know how this looks. If you are very interested in the mod, you can hop on Discord. Maybe I'll share it. Time will tell. One thing I think I'm going to do is publish it publicly once I balance and test it a bit more. But I don't want to penalize people that don't know the inner workings of the mod, but I didn't want to release it. If you have any questions about this series, drop me a line, and I do hope that you tune in next time. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Adios.